I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and you're a T-Mobile customer. You're eligible for an upgrade, and you're thinking, what in the world should I commit 2 more years to? I've got 2 options for you in my hands right now. The Samsung Galaxy S Blaze 4G is one of those, and it's available as of tomorrow, the 28th, for $149.99 nationwide at T-Mobile retail stores and online at T-Mobile.com. Now, this is packing a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor, a 3.97-inch Super AMOLED display, a 5-megapixel camera, and Android 2.3 with TouchWiz version 4.0. So pretty well equipped, given a $150 price point. Then you have the HTC Radar 4G over here, a mid-range Windows phone from T-Mobile with a 1 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, a 5-megapixel camera, a 3.8-inch display, and Windows Phone 7.5, and a nice kind of metal unibody form factor. Which one's the best? We'll find out in the dogfight, but first, some love to Best Buy Mobile because they hook us up with a lot of phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game on the site, which you can win. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your camera settings, your email, all that good stuff. So when you walk out the door, you're set up. You don't have to worry about importing your contacts or doing anything like that. At Best Buy Mobile, you're good to go. Let's see which one of these is the all-around must-have device, the Blaze 4G or the Radar 4G. A lot of 4Gs in there. Let's take a look at the dogfight, which starts right now. 2 devices available from T-Mobile, and they're kind of similar in terms of features. On one hand, you have the Samsung Galaxy S Blaze 4G over here. This thing's available as of March 28th, so tomorrow, for $149.99. It's available in some stores right now, but available nationwide on the 28th. This thing's packing a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, a 5-megapixel camera with 720p HD video recording, a 3.97-inch Super AMOLED display, so not quite 4 inches, but just short of it, and then a front-facing camera and Android 2.3 with TouchWiz version 4.0. So it brings a lot of the features of the Galaxy S2 to kind of a more affordable price point, $149 as opposed to $199 or $249 for a Galaxy S2 derivative. Think of this kind of like the Captivate Glide on AT&T. Kind of sort of a Galaxy S2, but still branded as a Galaxy S, although it's packing some killer specs. 1,750 milliamp hour battery in here as well. Then you have the HTC Radar 4G over here. Been on T-Mobile for some time, but still a pretty good mid-range Windows Phone handset. It's packing a 1 gigahertz single-core processor, a Snapdragon S2 at that, a 3.8-inch LCD display. Both of these, I should add, have 480 by 800 pixels. Then you have a 5-megapixel camera on the back of this with 720p HD video recording, but you've got a beautiful metal body here with this little removable, non-removable battery, but you have a little cover here that removes to reveal the SIM card. So design-wise, it's really going to depend on what you prefer more. This one's obviously very plasticky, though it does resemble the BlackBerry look and feel here. It's got more of a plastic feel to it, though it does have a slightly larger display and a slightly more colorful display and a dual-core processor at that. This has this nice metal form factor that resembles the HTC tablet that came out last year, the Gingerbread tablet, the EvoView 4G. So very similar to that. And in terms of design, in terms of overall look. But both of these available on T-Mobile. 2 very different operating systems here, Android and Windows Phone. And this is running Windows Phone version 7.5. So let's dive right into that and not spend too much time on the individual devices themselves. But I want to show you this first. Volume rocker over here, micro USB charging port on the bottom, power button up in the side here, and 3.5mm headphone jack up top. Over here you've got your micro USB charging port, your volume rocker, your camera shortcut button, which is a great thing about Windows Phone, power button, 3.5mm headphone jack. So obviously very different. You see it in a lot of different places, so we'll just dive right in. The biggest thing I miss about Android whenever I'm working with iOS or with Windows Phone is widgets. You know, widgets are great because you can scroll in between the home screens, which you get 7 home screens here, and you can easily pinch to zoom and see all kinds of information on your 7 home screens. Over here you don't get that. You know, it's a really almost a case between simplicity and form. So it depends on if you want something, you know, that performs well. You've got, you know, widgets over here. I can easily scroll through and see the weather, the news, and all these kind of things in one click, but it's a little bit more sluggish, a little bit more laggy. Or I can have this kind of fluid, consistent performance. It tends to work the same almost every single time, but the trade-off with that is there's a ton of processes running in the background here because I have widgets, I have things going on in the background. I don't have that over here. So for me, it's oftentimes form and function over actual usability of the device. So for me, I prefer something that works every single time, the same way every single time, and I'd sacrifice the widgets. But I do find that when I'm working with iOS or with Windows Phone, I do tend to miss the widgets, and that's something you do get over here. 7 home screens over here. You don't get any home screens here. You get tiles. Now, this is Windows Phone's Metro UI interface, and it looks very similar to what you would see in the subway. In fact, it's designed after subway tiles. So you can see Some are square, some are rectangular, and as of right now in Windows Phone, you can't change that. So if you see the calendar one, for example, it's rectangular, Internet Explorer square. I can see a case where messaging your phone would be square as well, because you could see your missed calls or perhaps your missed text messages or your missed emails, things like that, but you can't customize those like you can with some of the widgets over here. So you'd think they give you the ability to like customize out the sizes. Hopefully that'll come in a future version of Windows Phone. But over here is your easy access to your various applications, and you do the same thing by going to the applications here. So you obviously get a dock down here in the bottom, and you can customize the shortcuts between phone contacts and messaging, whereas over here you just swipe back and forth, or you press the arrow button. Out of the box you get T-Mobile applications on both of these devices over on the Blaze 4G, 411 and more, Gamebase, let's see, Keys Air rather, Lookout Security, Mobile Life Organizer, More For Me, Netflix. You get the Play Store. It's not called Android Market anymore, but that's a Google thing. T-Mobile Name ID, T-Mobile TV, T-Mobile Video Chat, Pro Apps, and then you get Visual Voicemail, Zinio, and Yelp. So you get a lot of T-Mobile stuff over here. On this one, you get a couple of things. You get T-Mobile's My Account, you get Netflix, and Notes is actually an HTC thing. You get Telenav, GPS, Navigator, and you get T-Mobile TV. Now, fortunately, a lot of this stuff you can uninstall on the Windows Phone side. So they haven't enabled this with Android yet, or at least with a lot of their Android devices. But on the Windows Phone side, you don't want T-Mobile TV, you can uninstall it and be good to go, and that's relatively easy. This one supports HSPA Plus 42 megabits per second on T-Mobile. This one supports HSPA Plus 14.4 megabits per second. So you don't quite get the speed boost. You get a maximum peak of 14.4 megabits per second over here, whereas you get 42 over here. So that's something to keep in mind if you're in an area that just has killer HSPA Plus. Perhaps the one that can get the theoretical peak of 42 might be the better device for you if that's more important. Let's take a look at messaging and show you the interface differences between these two devices. So go into messaging, and you can see here, for example, we'll go into this thread here, 3933, claim your new iPad 3. And we'll go into the one I was working on the other day. Actually, we'll go into this one. Your T-Mobile, welcome to T-Mobile. And I'm going to write them back, and I'm going to say, thanks for welcoming me. Thanks for welcoming me. And you get two keypads out of the box on this device. You get the Samsung keypad and swipe as well, and you can see portrait to landscape transitions, nice and easy. Pretty easy to type on with larger thumbs. I think even though it's a 4-inch display, which is a little bit on the small side for many, I think it's going to be pretty decent for some. You get that over here as well with a 3.8-inch display, but one thing I don't like about Windows Phone, you'll notice the notifications bar here with your signal strength indicator, your 4G indicator, and your battery life indicator. It goes away regardless of where you're at, and it doesn't give you the option to customize that and leave it on the screen. Well, that's great, and that's well and good that they have this little minimalist thing going on, but I'd like to see the keyboard stretch out a little bit and take advantage of that added screen real estate. But you still have a keyboard here in landscape, and you'll notice the transition effects are nice and easy over on Windows Phone, very fluid with little to no lag. So I can say the quick brown fox is happy that it is sunny outside. And one thing I like about Windows Phone, you can click the word and immediately change it. So I want to go in here and change a bunch of these words. For whatever reason, let's just say a bunch of these words are wrong. You can go in here and say quick, change these around, brown. So you see I can easily do that. Whereas over here, it brings up some different options. I can select, I can copy and paste, but it doesn't give me the option to change like that right out of the box. So on the messaging front, I give the slight edge actually to the Radar 4G. I think it's a more capable messaging device all around, and you'll notice some color differences here in terms of customization. This is an area where Android really wins in a lot of cases because Android still has done a great job with customization, particularly in Samsung's TouchWiz 4.0, which is the interface that's rolling on top of Android 2.3, which is what you see here. So let's go to some widgets and take a look on this device. You want to bring in a calendar widget or a clock widget. I can come down here and see all the different widgets pre-installed, and it's nice and clean and fast with little to no lag. And TouchWiz 4.0 is a huge improvement from previous previous user interfaces rather that we've seen on not just in TouchWiz but on Android as a whole. Very clean, very easy to use, very fluid, and actually one of the most fluid user interfaces that I work with on a regular basis. So let's come in and say classic clock. Let's bring that one up and plop it there right there on the home screen. Over here you don't get a whole lot of abilities to do things like that. You do get the ability to change the color, so you see brown. I can come into settings and go to theme, and let's go to, we'll say magenta, because this is a T-Mobile Dogfight. Let's do magenta, and I can change the background color and things like that. Outside of that, not a whole lot of things I can do to this device. You can see that's about the extent of my customization, and of course I can change the ringtones and things like that, but as for anything else, Android wins the customization battle.